Welcome to Resiliency Redefined. I'm your host, Robyne, and I am thrilled to share with you information about resiliency, well-being, performance, education, business, parenting, and everything in between. I'm committed to joining you each week to talk about these big ideas and bring them into action, habits, tools, strategies, tactics that allow us to finally uncover what it takes to truly be well. And I'm just so excited that you're here. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Resiliency Redefined. It's been a minute for me putting together this episode, and I'm so encouraged right now by the people who are asking such great questions. So the last two episodes, we talked a whole bunch about habits, habit formation, habit stacking, and all these different ways in which we can show up for ourselves and one another. I also just wanted to really kind of underline that big idea that our habits make up the quality of our life. Our habits make up the quality of our life. And if I just take a moment to pause and think about the last wee while, I'm so appreciative for the habits that I have that allow me to continue to show up and be able to serve, to be able to do my best for others, but also for my family and for myself. So even just for example, like the last wee while I've been on the road, I was on the road, I guess for almost 7 days straight, but I was able to braid in moments and opportunities to get outside, connect with loved ones. Even while I was traveling, I was able to find live music. That was a trip. And oh my goodness, it was like back to the 90s, being able to like hear Bush play live in an acoustic session with like Gavin Rosdale and oh my gosh, and Nick Hughes on the drums. Like it was just epic. But the habit that I used was time blocking. Okay. Time blocking, meaning I had work to do, absolutely. But I also had blocks of time for recovery. And I ensure that those non negotiable blocks, my time blocks for recovery, those don't become negotiable just because things get full or busy or other persons are experiencing a sense of urgency. I ensure that I use time blocks to be able to make sure that I'm okay, the people around me that they're okay, and we get breaks. We have the opportunity to rest and to recover, but not just recover, recharge. Like absolutely recharging. So spending time in Alberta with some of my favorite people outside of my family, being able to spend time at Jill's house, at Ron's house, playing with our puppies, listening to live music, being in community, spending time having, dinner with Nick, like all of those things are part of high performance. And the habit that facilitates that, again, in this case, was time blocking, ensuring that I have enough in each of those buckets so I can sustain high performance. And that's my invitation for each and every one of you. Okay, so today's big idea isn't just to revisit my weekend. Today's big idea is to share some really interesting insights from some of the work that I was doing with a very, very large organization, worldwide organization, actually just yesterday. And a question came out from that group, from our workshop, that I thought would be super helpful for people today. So here we are. I'm going to share it. So to give you context, how this environment, this learning happened was I was working with this group. These were, I believe, about 75 of the absolute top performers, leaders in this organization. And it was from all over North America. And what we were doing, so these people were responsible for thousands of employees. Okay, they are the leaders who are responsible for thousands of employees in this organization. And what we had the chance to do was to, go over some pieces about resiliency, navigating change and stress. But these participants were then able to complete my Stress Wisely assessment. And in real time, we were able to see We were able to see where everybody was within that tool. So, understanding their levels of resourcefulness, understanding their feelings of being well resourced using the realms of well being, as well as the indicators around burnout. So, again, we have these top performers. We're in this group. We see their data in real time. They're able to have these conversations. And then the learning is absolutely relevant to the data that we are seeing. So we're doing data driven work. Okay. What does this all have to do with our episode today? One of the questions this very, very high functioning, very successful leader asked is, what do I do when I have people on my team who are not performing? And what they meant was, so we looked at the performance, that bell curve we've talked about before, the Yerk-Dodson human performance stress curve, oldie but a goodie. And what happens when, okay, on one end, we have people that are burning out, right? So burnout is at one end, and the other end is actually boredom, and they're not performing. And I just really appreciated this question because there are so many reasons why people underperform. Like maybe even in your own life, you might notice that there's some areas that you're underperforming, that you have way more potential. However, it doesn't seem to click. It's like you can't find that gear. You're not able to activate it, but you have something more, it's possible, but for whatever reason, you're underperforming. And again, this could be in relationships. This could be in terms of taking care of yourself, right? For example, negotiating with your non negotiables and not following through with what you say you're going to do for yourself or to others. As far as I'm concerned, that's underperforming. Like if you tell me you're going to do something and then you do not do it and it's not, and there's no like real substantive reason for not doing it, then you are underperforming. Okay. Again, I don't mean to be harsh. I also hold myself to that standard. I think we should hold ourselves to the standard that we want to make sure that we are utilizing and capitalizing on our potential, our skills, our talents, and our gifts. So, answering the question, why are people underperforming in their life? There's a couple different reasons. There's actually a whole bunch of reasons, but the one that I wanted to share with you, this is from an idea that I'm working through right now around specifically in employment environments. So this is going to be a wee bit for my leaders who are listening. But again, remember, I believe we are all leaders in different places and spaces. It's not the job title, it's the level of influence that we have on other people. So you can be a leader in any type of scenario. It's the opportunity to support, to champion, to lead, to allow people to help them find their abilities to use their talents, skills, and gifts. Okay, so I call this the 4 C's of engagement, employee engagement. But again, open your mind to this if you wouldn't mind, because you can apply this to so many scenarios outside of just traditional employment leadership. So the 4 C's. The fourth one, so this is kind of a bottom up in terms of engagement and enrollment. The bottom one is crashing. Okay. These folks are like they don't even have a track anymore. Like they are just crashing and burning. They are out of alignment. They are procrastinating. Maybe they're protesting behavior. Like these people are just like spinning their wheels, heading to hell in a handbasket. Okay. That's the employee or the teammate that is just absolutely crashing and burning. Why does that happen? So many different reasons. The top reasons that we're seeing right now is obviously burnout. Burnout is a substantive one. People who are navigating major personal issues or situations or episodes. So, burnout from the work, outside of the work, something's going on that is distracting this person, that it's just pulling them off track. It's absolutely just pulling them in the wrong direction. So we refer to that as crashing. And we see this in so many different situations. It's a person who, again, it could be a dash of self sabotage. It could be just this, things are just not okay. Okay. So that's the kind of this first C, it's the crash. The second, and this is the one which it's so fascinating. The second C is coasting. Coasting is when they're essentially just kind of bopping along. Okay. They are not really engaged. Perhaps they're doing the absolute bare minimum. They are very comfortable in the coast. Okay. They are very comfortable. why does this happen? Why are there some people that are just kind of coasting through? Well, usually when we see it in a work environment, it has to do with lack of clarity, perhaps. Like they don't know what their role is. It could be a wee bit of protest behavior, right? Where they're just kind of sitting back, kind of cruising, and just kind of maybe even, for example, letting their Q1 sales sell them through Q2 and not really putting in that effort. Sometimes, and when we think of that protest behavior, there could be a component of feeling undervalued or underutilized. So, undervalued means what's the point? Nobody appreciates it anyway. Underutilized is you're giving me such like simple tasks, or you're not using my potential that I just literally, again, coast, right? But what's fascinating in here, it's not necessarily that it particularly feels good for the person who is coasting, but it's almost as if there's a little bit of apathy. Like they just kind of don't really care. And that's hard, right? Because that person probably has great opportunities, potential. Like there's probably things that they could be doing or ought to be doing, but for whatever reason, they're just kind of coasting along. Now, one of the other areas that we see with coasting, and this ties into the big idea that says this, the worst, like the worst way that, like one of the worst things that impacts morale in a team or a group is when bad behavior is left unaddressed. I'll say it again because it's important. As Alan Stein Jr. likes to say, bad behavior not addressed kills morale. So you could have a absolutely amazing employee, teammate, person in your group. And if people around them are slacking off, they're not engaged, they're kind of doing the bare minimum, and that doesn't get addressed, people are going to regress to that mean. They're going to regress to that middle of just like, who cares? All right. So that's the coaster. Now, the third C is the cruising. Cruising. This means that they are working in a really efficient way and they are working towards their goals and they're operating in a really reasonable and sound approach to the work. Okay, so they are cruising. They know where they are going. They can sit back. They have moments where they might have to speed up. They know when to slow down, and they are cruising through their workday. Again, not coasting. It's a cruising. It's like I'm in efficiency, I'm like max efficiency in terms of working towards the direction in which I am traveling. We call that cruising. And again, they're engaged. They also can unplug, they rest, they recharge. Like cruising feels pretty good. You know, you are at that sense of in control of the variables where you have control, and you're able to kind of let go of the things that aren't relevant. And the fourth C, there's actually a next level of engagement. It's championing. Championing. Like this is the person who is like cruising, but also is like leveling up, skilling up, raising other people up, and is like this amazing dose of just goodness in organizational culture. Like they're the person that is bringing the energy, they're bringing the ideas, they are cheering for their other teammates. They are recognizing great work in other people. They talk about people when that person isn't even in the room because they just want to see wins, wins, wins across the board. You know, it's interesting. It was Zig Ziglar who said, as it like when he was talking about business and entrepreneurship, he said, I will support you getting whatever you want because that's how I'm going to get what I want. Okay, so I'll say that again. So basically, I want you to win because if I can help you win, then I win because I'll get everything that I want if you get everything that you want. So that's the champion in the group. So when we look at again engagement, so we have our crash, we have coasting, we have cruising, and we have championing, right? The person who is literally bringing and raising everyone up. Now, the reason I share that again is people need different things in different areas in terms of their engagement, right? My person who is crashing, they need intervention, right? We can't just watch and see how bad it's going to get. We want to be able to show up for that. The person who is coasting, they need some goals, right? They need a couple wins. They need to start to build momentum. They need to feel utilized. They need to feel acknowledged. And this isn't like hand holding. This is this idea that a really great coach can unlock something in their teammate or their player that maybe that player has lost sight of, or maybe that teammate has lost sight of. A real amazing leader and coach can see something in you and help pull it out. Okay. So they need that little bit of extra, right? They need that little bit of extra. And it's not placating, it's not speaking down, it's not micromanaging. It's like, hey, you're very good at your job. We got to get you back on track. I want to see you succeed. Now, the person who is cruising, okay, the person who is cruising, we want to make sure that they have a sense of direction in terms of giving them opportunities for professional development, giving them leadership opportunities if they're looking for it. Like we want to make sure because they're doing their job so well, they have efficiency, they have mastery. We still want to make sure that they're still hungry for something, right? So to be able to have a conversation about with them and figure out like what do you see? Like what is it that you're working towards? How can I help you level up, skill up, or achieve that wild, audacious goal that you have for yourself personally or professionally, right? Allowing them to have that agency to keep expanding. And this isn't this idea of like reaching, it's the idea of stretching, right? In the right kind of way. And then my champion, what does the champion need? The champion also needs recognition. And so often, some of our top performers, we just assume that they know that they're doing amazing work. We assume that they are confident, they're capable, they know everybody's got their back, they're inspiring folks. Even people who are winning, it's nice to be recognized. Just to let them know, like, hey, you come in clutch. I want you to know that I see you and I appreciate you. And I want to make sure that this is working for you because we could lose some of our champions in our organization if we just assume that they're always going to be able to be those high flyers, right? They're going to find other opportunities and that's okay. Nobody's meant, I don't think, to stay in the same position or role in perpetuity. Like we want people to be inspired. We want people to think about where do we get to go from here. Hopefully it might be within the organization, but perhaps maybe this is a launching pad, right? Maybe we're a launching pad for some level of greatness that we can help somebody achieve. So again, our crash, our coasting, cruising, and our champions. So let's just do one kind of idea here. What do we do as a leader with that person who is crashing? So we already said we want to intervene, but my gentle invitation, we want to have an ear to ear conversation, not an eye to eye conversation. And what I mean by that is pull up the chair beside them, put that piece of paper in front of both of you and be like, okay, this is what we're going to talk about. And we are going to talk about one micro thing. We are not going to talk about, performance review over the last quarter or the last year. We're going to talk about one micro thing. So let's say we sit down beside each other, have that blank piece of paper in front of us because that means opportunity, right? Blank piece of paper is possibility. So we're going to have a little piece of paper in front of us. We're going to sit ear to ear beside each other. And I'm going to start, let's say, you know what? I noticed I'm seeing emails coming in from you at 3 a.m. I see that you're sending emails at 3 a.m. I notice that you're sending emails at 9 o'clock in the morning. I see emails at 2 p.m. and I see emails at 7 p.m., which tells me you're not disconnecting, that you are on this treadmill, that you are just not getting breaks. So let's just take a moment and brainstorm or imagine what can we do to put something in place to create just a little bit of balance or a little bit of reprieve. Like what could our schedule look like just for now? It doesn't have to be forever. We don't have to sign contracts, but just start brainstorming like what's possible and be the person as the leader, be the writer. And I mean that by like pick up the pencil and pen and just start saying, okay, well, is this a matter of, again, when we talk about boundaries, right? Is this a matter if you're not sure if it's okay if you don't respond to something at 3 a.m? Or are you using 3 a.m. as a catch up because you have so many meetings during the day that you don't have any time to do your work? So again, not focusing on everything, one micro component. Use that blank piece of paper just to get your thoughts out, start mapping things out, play. We use free flow writing just to be like, we're open to anything. Again, beside each other suggests allyship. Across the table, it feels very adversarial. So, beside those ear to ear conversations, which we know also works so extremely well with our teenagers and our littles, side by side is always how we want to have conversations. Now, for my coaster, okay, my coaster, we want to kind of get a sense of like, how are you doing? How are you doing really? So, yeah, fine, good, tired, busy, no problem. We get these surface answers. But again, in a side to side conversation, and this might not be at a table or an office space going with this blank piece of paper. Perhaps this could be like, hey, I'm going to get a coffee, walk with me. Or, hey, let's pick up the telephone. Somebody asked me at that event yesterday, they said, how do you have an ear to ear conversation when we're working virtually? Question I'll ask you. How do you have an ear to ear conversation when we're working virtually? Telephones without video. We don't need to look at each other's faces as much as we are doing since COVID. So, again, that's just a telephone call. And maybe you can make it a talk and a walk, right? A talk and a walk. Like, hey, I'm going for a walk I'm going for a walk at this time. I was wondering if we can chat. How are you doing? Like, how are you doing really? What's going on? Getting a wee bit of a pulse check of what's going on could give you some insights on how you could show up for that person. And an idea about our folks who are cruising, again, just this idea about what is it that you're excited about? Having those conversations. What are something that you're really proud about? Or maybe something, hey, is there anything you've been trying to tell me that I haven't heard recently, right? That you want to try and bring to my attention, right? Just open the door. And again, our high performers, the folks who are getting it, they deserve as much attention as the people who are spitting out. Because again, what we need is people to be well, and we don't want to have it so the folks who are well are going to kind of become unwell because they're not being recognized and they're not being mentored and they're not being coached. We want to make sure that there's that equal distribution when possible. I remember when I was teaching at the university, I would say to my graders or my markers when they were helping with marking that an A paper should have as much feedback as a C paper or a D paper. We owe it to our top performers to help them see what their next unlock is in terms of walking into and achieving their greatness. Okay, I'm wildly mindful that this has been about 20 or so minutes. The last couple of podcasts, my goodness, they have gotten out of hand. I am sorry for going on longer than I anticipated. I just get so excited when I'm talking about some of these ideas and I kind of run away with it. So I'm going to land this plane as effortlessly as possible to ensure that we're staying within that kind of 20-minute mark. And again, what quick little recap: we crash, coast, cruise, champion. Seeing how we are showing up, and the invitation I would have for you using that little four criteria section, like that four criteria model. Where are you in some of those key areas in your life? Like personally, professionally, maybe emotionally, spiritually, whatever that thing is. Where would you say you are feeling right now in those areas? And what's one simple, like so easy, you cannot fail thing that you can do in that moment or that area or that criteria to just lighten the load, to just lighten the load. I recall not that long ago, I was kind of spinning out a wee bit. I had lots of things on my to-do list. My to-do list actually was so long, I actually considered it fiction because there was no way I was going to get through all of that. And Hunter came in and he said, hey, I noticed you haven't had any breaks lately. And I'm like, no, I'm just kind of pushing through. And I said, I got a lot on my plate. I'm feeling a wee bit overwhelmed, actually. And Hunter said, what's one thing that I can do on your plate for you? What's one thing that you can take off the plate and give it to me? I'm here. I'm energized. I'm resourced, whatever it is. Just give me one thing on your list. And I thought to myself, oh, you can't do my job, Dave, but I appreciate the sentiment. But then I paused. I'm like, wait a second. Is there one thing that I can kind of take off this list and hand it to Hunter so he can take it from there? Yeah. Picking up the puppy's meds, right? I was like, oh my gosh, yeah. Could you actually go over and pick up at Costco pharmacy and pick up Apollo's meds? I love picking up Apollo's meds, by the way, because when they call Apollo Hanley, I just think that's the cutest thing ever that Apollo's name is said in an environment that is not a vet office. Anyway, but I'm like, yeah, can you grab Apollo's meds for me before they close? He's like, I got you. and it was just done. So I want that for each and every one of you. What's one thing that you can take off the plate or take off your list or delegate or even ask somebody for some help for? It's okay to ask for help. We're not meant to do this alone. So, to each and every one of you who are tuning in and listening each week, thank you so much. And please keep asking me your questions. I want to be useful. I want to be able to show up and give you some good information. I'm so glad that you are here. It's not lost on me that you tuned in today. And I'm so glad that you did. Take good care, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now. Thank you for spending time with this podcast episode today. I hope you found something helpful in Resiliency Redefined. Please feel free to share it with somebody who you might think could benefit. Maybe there was something useful, something in particular that you think you could pay forward. Also, if you have a moment, please feel free to rate and review this podcast wherever you like to listen to your podcast. It means the world to me. And again, thanks for your time. Thank you for your interest. Take good care, and I'll see you next time.